Hello everybody, James here, story time with Dutch Mantell, episode 99, and it's once again, I'm on the road. Dutch, have a guess where I am.
Well, I know where you are.
No.
Let's ask the people, where do they think you are? Give them three guesses. Give them three guesses.
Okay, you've got three guesses.
Yep.
No, you've got it wrong three times. That is, I am in Tokyo, in the Japan. And to prove I'm in Tokyo, I've got a bag of crisps sponsored by the Singing Potato. Nothing
Well,
makes sense.
how is Japan? How is Japan?
Warm, very nice
Is it really?
and warm. Yeah, nice and warm and busy.
And you flew from London, right?
No. Oh, no. I flew from Manchester. So from Manchester to Istanbul in Turkey, 3-hour layover, and then from there to Tokyo. So 23 hours from door to door it took me.
So you flew east, yes or no? Or over
Yes.
did you fly over the pole?
The pole?
North Pole? I
No.
mean, you can go that way.
You can, but that would have taken me. I mean, I think the plane would have run out of juice somewhere in the Arctic Circle.
Oh, I used to do it all the time.
No, that'll be from the American way. No,
my little hand
flew over
glider
Russia.
plane.
Hang glider plane.
So you did fly over Russia?
Yeah, I think we flew over Russia and China and all that kind of caper straight across.
And you flew over China. I've never done that. I would like to have done that. What if they just shot you down or something?
Well, then we couldn't do this podcast. But having said that, we are doing the podcast because I'm here, and the train never stops, as it were. Look, I've even got myself a Kirinichi band from the 7-Eleven around the corner
very
well,
good.
so I'm going to pop it. Which is, what time is it here as well? It is 11:26 as I record this. What time is it over there, Dutch? It's a different day, isn't it?
It's 10:30 at night. It sure is 10:30 at night, buddy. So I have some hats for sale. You can get it on my website, which is almost functional now. So, and I still have some lagging hat sales from my hospitalization. And people are going to start saying, damn, did you die in the hospital? Hell, it'd take you forever to get these orders filled. Well, yeah, it does. I'm kind of slow. And for those who would like a Dutch Mantell University of Dutch diploma, those are for sale too on the website. And I have 2 books. I'm writing another one, and I almost got enough to put pen to paper. Those are my 2 books for sale, all on my website. So if you want to put them all together, I'll give you a deal on it. And you can contact me, Dirty Dutch Mantell, at gmail.com with 2 L's. That's right. With 2 L's at gmail.com. So you ready to talk some wrestling?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk some wrestling. I hadn't quite realized as soon as we started this just how tired I am. I've been up since 5 a.m. And you know what it's like, Dutch. You've been here a couple of times, and just the body clock just goes completely out of whack. So yeah, I've been up since 5.
Well, this is
now 11.
Well, you mentioned that, but there's a lot of days in the States you would get up in WWE. You get up at 5, 6, make an early flight, go somewhere, get off, go rent a car, go to the building, and that's already 14 hours by the time the show starts. And then when the show's over, you get in the car and you go to the next town. So you could very easily be up 22 hours, 21, 22 hours before you find a bed. And after a while, if you do, well, I don't either, but I do it. I did it. But if you look at the schedule now, we used to work, SmackDown would work 4 days a week. They'd work 4 days before SmackDown. And then when SmackDown was over, you go home. Raw, they'd work 4 days before Raw in a different city. And then when Raw was over, they'd go home. But then they said, okay, we'll put Raw and SmackDown back to back, which was a good idea, but it wore your ass out big time. And I don't know why they weren't more divorces than they were, because I would get up some days I could not go. And I'm going to talk how a little bit later about in the older days before we flew, we had to drive, and sometimes you get into towns and the guys today. This is the difference between guys today and guys say 20, 30 years ago. We'd stay in damn roach infested damn hotels, motels, if you wanted to call them that. And sometimes with just a black and white TV, and sometimes with, you might have had air conditioning, you may not have had air conditioning. So, but it was a cheap room, and that's what the guys were looking for, because the money then, nowhere close to the money now. Now guys stay at the big Radissons or the big Hiltons, and they stay at the really, really nice hotels because they can afford it. When you're making $2 million a year, yeah, you can afford that. But when you're making like a tenth of that or 1.5, 15% of that, yeah, those $200 a night rooms get very, very expensive. So, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, what's your first question? Let's talk about something.
Oh, well, I was going to follow up on this, right? So I splurged on the flights. So we flew business here and fly business back because, it's a long flight and business is awesome. But we've really cheaped out on the hotel. So I think the hotel was probably about $55 a night. And let's hope the computer doesn't explode. I mean, essentially, I've got a bed behind me and that's pretty much it. And then
$55 for that room?
Yeah, but Japanese rooms
Really?
are minuscule. The only good thing is something's under here now, damn it. Just a pile of wires. So the only good thing is that every single Japanese room has a bidet in the toilet. And let me tell you, you have never experienced a bidet,
A bidet. A bidet.
bidet for you.
Yes.
Bidet to you too.
Yes.
And let me tell you, you've not lived until you have had the cleanest bottom you have ever had in your entire life. To the point that after I came here the first time, when I moved house a few months ago, I insisted we had a Japanese bidet installed. As ugly as they are, they look like a platypus, but it's just like you haven't lived. And then when I went to Philadelphia a few weeks ago, and then I had to wipe my ass like a fucking animal. Excuse me, like an animal. Like I was reduced to the level of a beast. Let me tell you.
Oh my God. Yeah, they had them in Japan when I was there. Hey, you know what I noticed about Japan?
Yeah.
Is they don't have men's and women's restrooms, or didn't then.
The bar we were in last night didn't, but it's probably like a space saving thing. Like every bar only has like the smallest. Yeah.
We were driving on like an interstate, like a 4-lane, and we would stop at a rest area, and it's like a building just like in the States, and you go in there, but they just have one bathroom. And it's what it is. It's like, folks, I don't know, we should start this off by talking about this, but it's like a urinal, but with a part that comes out about this far. And you can go in, and a male will be standing there taking a leak or taking a dump, one or the other, and that's what they do. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. If we had that in the States, people would just scream bloody murder. There'd be a lot of instances of people acting up. But in Japan, people, they're very nice. I've never found people to be more accommodating anywhere than in Japan. They're
very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. You only need a few words here. Chumon is, can I place an order? Onegashimasu is like that you put like please after something. So you say Chumon onegashimasu for an extra order. There's three of us. So
You've learned that. You've learned that already.
Yeah. Okaiki is Bill or Okaike. But anyway, either way you say it, they know what you're saying. Just yell it.
You drive on the other side of the road, right?
You drive on the correct side of the road here, yeah.
On the left or the right?
On the left.
But that's what you do in England, right? You drive on the left.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's good. So there's less chance of me getting run over while looking the wrong way, going across the
Yeah.
road kind of thing. Let's talk about wrestling for God's sake. I could talk about this trip all day. But one thing, I was looking at your match results, and you've been to Japan for wrestling purposes, where you actually did tours twice. One in '84 with Akira Maeda. We've talked about that before. But also in 1980, you did a tour with All Japan Pro Wrestling with Giant Baba. And I was telling you beforehand, oh, you tagged with Billy Robinson quite a few times. And you went, really?
Oh, I didn't remember it. I remember he was on the. I don't even remember he was on the trip because a lot of guys go to Japan. They go to Japan and they just go and do their matches and get on the bus, go to sleep, get to the hotel, go get some rest, or go work out. There's not a party time in Japan. And I don't think they want you partying that much because if you get in trouble, I mean, the wrestling has a certain status in Japan. The mafia doesn't want you out showing your butt because they will come and see you and say, "Oh, Nichima, maybe you go back to States with nothing." Oh, okay, well, because I mean, I had heard before I came the first time that the mafia had a heavy influence in it. And I had never heard that before. I said, well, why is the mafia in it? Because they buy the show. Say they go to name a town.
Hokkaido.
Okay. They will buy the show for X number of dollars. But then the mafia, they take the tickets and they go all over the town and they will add, say a ticket back then, $10. Well, the tickets now are $15. So for every ticket they sell, they're making $5. And they are heavily coerced into buying those tickets. So very interesting, to tell you the truth. Japanese life is very much different than what you see in England or in Europe or in the United States.
Yeah, with the Japanese mafia, that's been on the way out for quite a long time. Yeah, I think the members are just aging out now. Essentially, I was told this years ago when I was first here. And
so, are they still in it or no?
No, they're still not in wrestling really anymore. They don't have as much influence as they used to. One thing that is happening in Japan at the moment is there's been a big financial crash. The economy's failing somewhat, and at the moment, the yen is at a 34-year low against the dollar, which means, I mean, GBP, the pound, isn't doing that great either. But 6 years ago, a beer for me was about £7, so it's pretty expensive. Now it's under 5, so it's like the price of everything is slashed 30% over here. So at the moment, it's great. So if anyone's thinking of coming over here, you'll actually be saving some money and doing it at this time as well. But one thing I was going to ask is, because you tag with Billy Robinson, any stories of Billy Robinson?
Well, Billy, I had heard. I had a guy a long time ago that I first met when I got into the wrestling business, and his name was John Foley. John Foley was an old-time shooter. Like, he could take you down and choke you out in about 90 seconds, maybe. And if you looked at John, John looked the farthest thing from an athlete. But he had that British Cockney accent, I guess, a Cockney.
No.
But what is Cockney?
Cockney's London.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to say.
No, I know, but
Not
he
a
wasn't from
Cockney
London,
accent,
JR.
but, you know.
Billy Robinson was from Manchester. He was a local boy like I.
Yeah. But anyway, John was tough. And so Billy Robinson knew that I knew John. So that was like a little bit of an icebreaker. And he would talk about John because they learned to wrestle in this little town that is known for tough ass wrestlers, amateur wrestlers called Wigan. Where is Wigan?
Greater Manchester, it's West Greater Manchester, and it's called the Snake Pit. And there is a version of the Snake Pit that's now an MMA gym there.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Of
Had you
course I
heard
do,
it
yeah.
before?
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So, and then I got to thinking one time, wait a minute, why am I meeting all these English wrestlers all of a sudden? This was about, say, mid-70s. But when I broke in, they weren't a lot of English wrestlers around. All of a sudden, there was a big influx of them. But what happened, I did a little research on it. It used to be carried on the BBC, yes?
ITV
The-
wrestling.
What was it?
ITV, independent television. The
But anyway,
commercial one.
yeah, they canceled the wrestling on the show, and the wrestlers had nowhere to work unless they wanted to work the little carnivals. And a bunch of them just left, came to the States, and that's why I met them. So
That was cancelled in '88, though. I think just some of them. The reason why I think a lot of wrestlers in England went to America is because the money in England was horrible, horrible. I mean, Dynamite Kid. This is a famous story. In the
mhm.
late '70s or something like that, he was like a middleweight champion, whatever weight he was. He was the champion. He was one of the top draws. Maybe not the top draw or anything, but he was good on the card. And he was making something like £11 a day, which would translate to what, $15, $16 a day in the late 70s. You made nothing. And that's why they left. That's why they went to America. Because even in a territory that was down on its luck, you'd still probably get, even at the time, what, 50, a half decent territory would pay at least $100 a day guarantee or something like that.
No, not
No,
then.
not in the 70s.
50 maybe,
Right.
but that was an increase, but still, things were a little bit higher here. Gas was cheap, but you had to take your own car. Hey, this business has gone through a lot of changes to get to where it is now. So, like you were talking about the hotel you were in, we used to stay in those hotels every night like that while we was on the road because we had no choice. I mean, if
Because you
you
don't
wanted
really
to
spend
spend,
time in the hotel anyway.
well, you have to spend it after the matches. You gotta unless you can't drive all night. Well, you can, but you're gonna get there and you just be in your car. But it's about $50 is what the guys used to make, say in the late '70s and early '80s. Of course, the goal was to get out of that. The goal was to get somewhere where you could the territory was doing well and you might have a shot of main eventing. So that's where the money was.
Shall we talk some wrestling news then? So there's been quite a lot that's happened
Yes.
in the last week. And the major story really that happened on the Friday, which is when last week's story time with Dutch Mantell came out, so we couldn't refer to it, was Tony Khan in a neck brace. So we saw the TK driver. We saw Tony Khan's head come within 3 feet of the mat. And then on Friday, with the NFL draft happening, and obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tony and Shad Khan were there. And Tony Khan in the neck brace, he was seen all day in the neck brace. He is on the NFL Network, and he starts plugging the angle that took place on Dynamite that Wednesday with the TK driver, formerly the Meltzer driver, and how AEW is the most successful startup sports league since the AFL. So he also mentions how his dad is angry. It's all in kayfabe, all in storyline, sort of keeping up the pretense and everything. And then he says the following: AEW, we've been doing this for 5 years. We're the most successful. Well, I've already said that. There has not been a challenger brand that has gained as much market share as AEW in many, many, many years. We are like the Pepsi of pro wrestling, and we're up against a really evil juggernaut. WWE is our competitor. That's who we're facing. AEW is like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE's like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And I'm really proud of what we do down here. Now, you watched the video. What happened after he said that?
Well, the two announcers went, whoa, 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 whoa. They tried to uh, put a distance between his words and what they were going to agree with because, they think that the network would get calling somebody the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling, that's not very, that is not complimenting them very well. But I will say this: more people heard about AEW last week watching that NFL draft than heard about it in probably the last 4 years, probably, because he put it over. And a lot of people out there, see, a lot of people have quit watching wrestling, and it goes through those cycles. It will turn over, but now they watching the football draft, and he's talking about another promotion, and they may not even known it was even in existence, but now they do. And I will say one thing about the two NFL announcers, that they kind of put it over too. And Tony, he was sitting out there with a neck brace on, looked kind of silly, but his intent was to get eyeballs on the letters AEW, and I think he did. So we'll see what they can come up with, and see if it works.
Now, I don't know how well that worked because the last 2 weeks, all ratings are down. Let's get that out of the way. NXT's some horrible ratings. Raw's been really, really down as well. We'll talk about that later as well. But Dynamite has posted a couple of the worst viewership numbers they've ever done in the regular time slot as well. So I don't know how well the promotion
What did
worked.
What did Dynamite do?
Of this past Wednesday, they did something like 704,000, and the week before with the Tony Khan TK driver kind of thing, that ended up with him in a neck brace. It was something like 690, 694. So two of the absolute lowest. But I think the NBA is the NBA at the moment, isn't it?
I don't think the NBA hurts them that much.
No,
it's the playoffs. I don't, I just don't. I don't think the NBA, they don't do those big ratings, not like NFL does. But the basketball now, it does an okay rating. Ask me, do I watch NBA?
No, I know you don't. You watch college basketball, though. Don't you?
No, I don't even watch college basketball. I mean, I went through a phase I kind of like basketball, but now it's the same shit. You got those 7'2" guys. All they got to do is reach up, and where's the skill there?
Would you like a
I don't
midgets
know.
basketball league?
Well, no, but I saw some midgets really shoot the hell out of the ball on some damn YouTube video I saw. And that's a smaller ball, granted, but the guy he was hitting it dead on. But there's no market for midget basketball.
There might be a small market.
It could be. It'd have to be
Come
really
on,
small.
that was a good joke.
But that was a good joke.
Come on.
But
have you ever seen trampoline basketball?
But okay, what is WWE rating?
Oh, I think Raw did like 1. It did under 1.7. I know that because this is a mobile effort I've got at the moment. I don't have enough screenshots to check up on this.
I'll tell you why.
Go on.
Cody won.
Dutch. I promise you, we will be speaking about this later. I promise you. I know everyone hates me when I say that, but it's tough. We'll explore that in a little bit because that's going to be interesting. Just for now, we'll stick with AEW. And Tony Khan on TMZ Sports asked why those comments going viral on the NFL Network and the reception they received. Tony Khan responded, "Well, I think that we got tons of coverage for AEW, and I think it is important to say I think AEW is the best wrestling company in the world in many ways. I think that we have the best wrestlers and the best matches. We put on the best shows. I think the best pay-per-view events this year have been the two AEW events, Revolution and Dynasty." And Khan also added that he would put AEW's track record both inside and outside of the ring up against anyone. There are so many great things that have happened in AEW this year, and I'll hold our track record against anything, whether it's the quality of the shows, the safety, the travel. Safety? Jeez, everyone seems to get injured. The travel, the hotels, everything we do. In fact, it does make a lot of people travel. I know that. Everything we do in and out of the ring, I think AEW is the very best. There was one thing that I wanted to pick up on what he said. The only thing I didn't enjoy about the having the neck brace on is that he had to wear the neck brace for several days, and it made reading the analytics sheets a bit more of a challenge sometimes. But overall, it was really great.
He's an analytics he lives and dies with those analytic sheets. And the first time I ever met Tony Khan, that's what he was telling me. He was going to he would like to put a wrestling company together. This is when I was still in WWE back in 2015. No, what year are we in now? 2024?
Yeah.
Okay. It was 9 years ago. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, and he tried to explain it to me by saying, okay, you got this leadoff hitter, right? He's only hitting like 130. But they would take all the leadoff hitters and they want to know if he gets on base, what is the chance that he will score? He's got to be fast. Your leadoff batter's always fast and hits the ball maybe to where he can get to first base. But that's what they're looking for. So those analytics, you can die by them. And I don't know anybody that preached analytics that's won a championship. They win championships with the great players. And the great players aren't the analytic guys. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
You've seen Moneyball, haven't you?
I have seen Moneyball.
Yeah, it's a good film.
That's
Brad
what it
Pitt
is.
and
That's what
Jonah
it
Hill.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. Okay, go ahead.
Very quickly, last week on the show, we
Yes.
said, we'll probably say you said, that the way that they should proceed with this storyline is that Tony Khan is now out. He can't travel to these shows. So Tony Khan is gone from the shows, and that leaves the Young Bucks in charge. And that's exactly what they've done. So do you think they listen?
Well, I don't think it takes much of if you just watch wrestling, that's who's going to lead the company. Did you watch Succession?
No, it was on the plane as well.
That was the same thing. Who's going to take over the company? And Dallas years ago was who was going to take over the company. But this is a natural. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying tell a story. And every story every week just advances your main story. Because I've seen people like say, "Oh wow, what a great match they had! It was a star rating of 5 or 6." I would get bullshit. I mean, it could be a great match as far as wrestling, but put it on the second week and see what you do. Well, they've already seen it. Now they got to do more spectacular things. The third week, it's deader than hell unless you work the story in. How when you get the story, then they might be able to move it along. But it takes the story. And I was reading today an old time promoter named Jack Pfeffer. And he was the one who first put the story element into it. So he got run out of Germany and he came to the States, and actually he was an outsider. He only weighed like 130 pounds. But weighing 130 pounds, trying to get into the wrestling business, not as a wrestler, but as a promoter, I think he did pretty well. And I never met him. I just heard of him. Because I remember the old timers used to talk about him all the time. So he was an outcast. He was a rebel. But still, with the guys that I would talk to, he had a lot of respect because they respected him. The other promoters didn't respect him because he tried to take over their stuff. So they didn't like him, but the wrestlers did like him. So then I remember guys used to do impressions of, I don't know what he did. But actually, I didn't even know him, and I would laugh at the impressions. But he was first put the showbiz into it, and I don't know if he put the music into it or not, but he told the story, and I think he was really Buddy Rogers. I think he was instrumental in having Buddy Rogers was no more than like an independent worker to Jack Pfeffer saw him and brought him up and put him, and he had ideas too. He had the blonde hair and he had the flowing robes and he got him established on the circuit, what they would call a circuit, I guess. And he went all over and he actually got over so good they made him world champion.
That's all it takes, isn't it? Believe in
Well,
yourself, present yourself like a champion.
Well, if you don't believe in yourself, you really don't need to be there. I mean, if you get into wrestling, I mean, it's like getting into baseball, getting into acting, getting into football. You got to go out there and you got to impress somebody. You got to put up some numbers and somebody has to notice you and to advance your career. So he knew, and most wrestlers by and large are big bullshitters anyway. So that's how it works.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Oh, just to wrap it up, the neck brace that Tony Khan wore for a couple of days will be signed and auctioned off to charity. Now,
Wait a minute. Is he going to auction it off?
Oh, yeah.
Where'd you hear that?
I don't know. I don't know where the link is. I wrote it down in my notes to say
That's
that,
good.
but he is going to.
That's where you heard it.
Yeah.
You wrote it down and read it back to yourself.
Yes, that is exactly what I did.
So therefore, it must be true. But that is a good idea too.
Hey, I read it
When
somewhere.
he gets out of that neck brace, auction it off.
Now, you mentioned before bullshitters. Hulk Hogan has come out with another perler, as he always does. He's grist to the mill. He just can't help but just making up complete crap, which is brilliant for us. Hulk Hogan claims he brought The Undertaker to the WWF on a video on his own website. So, I know you know the story of this because you were in WCW at the time. You probably even talked to Mark at the time about it. Anyway, here's the quote from Hulk Hogan. It's kind of funny how The Undertaker came about. I was doing a movie called Suburban Commando, and we needed a couple of really big aliens. We had one actor, and we couldn't find another guy big enough. So I remembered Mean Mark Calloway from the NWA. He was working in Atlanta, Georgia for Jim Barnett at the time. So I had somebody hunt him down, and we brought him to Hollywood, and The Undertaker Mark Calloway was one of the bounty hunters in the movie Suburban Commando. We became really good friends, and once we were done, I said, man, you should come to New York. Once we were done, keep in mind. So I brought Mark Calloway to meet Vince, and Vince took a long look at him. He was a monster, 6'10", which he isn't, and in really good shape. And Vince goes, I'm going to call you The Undertaker. I just said, oh my God, this will never work with body bags and dead people, but I was wrong on that one. So The Undertaker was born. So apparently Hulk Hogan was also in the room when Vince McMahon came up with the Undertaker character. So none of that's true, but what's the actual story of Mark, the Undertaker, becoming the Undertaker in the WWF?
I had him in Memphis. This is the story as I know it. I had him in Memphis. He wasn't making any money. He wanted to go somewhere he could make money. Jimmy Cornette was in Atlanta on part of the booking team. And I remember they had the Towers of Doom or Towers of Pain and Sid Vicious was teamed with Dan Spivey. Sid got hurt. So they needed another big guy to take his place. So Jimmy called me one day and he said, listen, and he told me the story. He said, we needed like a big guy. They're the Tower of Doom or whatever they were. I forgot the names now. Do you have a guy? I said, hey, I got him. He's in the next room. And he says, what's his name? I said, wait a minute. And I opened the door and Mark wasn't too far away. I said, Mark, come here. And he walked in there and I said, hey, and I put my hand over the receiver. And I said, okay, Cornette, he needs a guy to take Sid's spot, talk to him. Let's give it to him. The conversation went about 2 minutes. And Mark said, okay, man, see ya. And I said, well, it ended kind of quick. But I asked Mark, I said, what's going on? He says, well, I start there next Monday. This was like a Wednesday or a Thursday. I said, good. So he went down there and they give him some kind of, I don't know what kind of gimmick they gave him there, but
not much.
He didn't have much, but he got to a spot to where, and Vince always watches the shows from other companies. He'd always watch them or have somebody watch them. And they got a hold of Mark. And I told him, he said, should I try to stay here in WCW or go to WWE? I said, well, I'm glad you went to WCW first. Now Vince has a chance to look at you and wonder, what if? What if I had him? And he got a hold of Mark, and then they came up with the Undertaker gimmick, which I've always heard was Vince's actual image of himself, his self-image. It's a character who won't die and is all powerful. So he put all that into Mark, and it worked big time. I remember the first time he came out and that big interest, the people stood up. They were just amazed. So it was almost like a Jack Forever creation.
Mhm.
But and from day one to the day he finished, he had that charisma and that awesome entrance. The only time I didn't like Mark is when he dumped the Undertaker gimmick and came out with that damn Hell's Angels type biker gimmick, because he loves bikes. He loves motorcycles. He loves that. And the first time I saw that, I went, I don't know. That doesn't compete with your Undertaker gimmick. And I think he kept it a year or whatever, but then he finally went back to it, and the people accepted it like he'd never gone away. That's the beauty about wrestling. You can leave a gimmick and then go away, and they don't see you for a while, and then come back and take the same gimmick and go back to work like you've never been gone.
Now, the story you've told there is the accepted story. We've talked about this also before. He went to Ole Anderson and said, hey, what have I got to do to bump up my pay? And Ole says, well, we don't see anything in you. You'll never make a dime in this business kind of thing. And that's when Mark says, well, stuff this job, and tries to get in contact with the WWF. He credits Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard for getting the meeting with Vince. And
Maybe.
Hulk Hogan's version is, hey, after Suburban Commando, I brought him to the WWF. Well, Suburban Commando finished filming January 18th, 1991, where Undertaker was already with the company for 3 months. By that point, I've said this before. I've got something else to add actually afterwards, but why does Hulk Hogan just lie and lie and lie about things that is so easy to disprove? Has he not heard of the internet?
Well, I don't know. I think there's an element of truth into what we're all telling. I believe Hogan the least, but it's Vince's company, and I think I gave him sound advice. Let him see you here, and all he's looking at is size. He was going to figure all this. Now, where the Undertaker gimmick came from, I have no idea. And I have surmised through other people that it was a self-image of Vince as he saw himself, which makes sense. I don't know if that's true or not, and he loved Mark. He really did. Because,
Well, at the beginning, he
to
didn't.
show.
Yeah,
Why
he
didn't he like
he
Mark?
actually turned him down at first. He turned
I didn't
down
hear that.
a meeting at first with Mark because I believe he was still me, Mark Callis at the time. He had a hip injury, and he had to go and wrestle Lex Luger on a pay-per-view match in 1990. And basically, it shit the bed. It wasn't a very good match at all due to several circumstances. Vince saw it and just went, not interested. And it was only at the behest of Bruce Pritchard, who chipped away at Vince, the end of the meeting.
Okay. According to Bruce, and according to Heyman, and according to me, now what do we all have in common? We're all in the wrestling business.
Mhm.
So all these things are, like I said, could possibly have an element of truth in them. But how this is Mark telling me, so I don't know.
Now, Hulk Hogan didn't leave it there this week. He was on the 700 Club, which I gather is some sort of religious channel, and he didn't look like a religious interview because he was like recently baptized. Even though I'm sure his wife's a Scientologist, so I'm not quite sure how all that jives together. But anyway, Excuse me.
Well, the
I can't edit Albie's cough.
Scientologist, the Scientology headquarters is in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Mm.
And he lives in Tampa, which is right 30 miles away. So if she's a Scientologist and all of a sudden he's got this newfound faith, I don't know where all that comes from. I've been around this before. I'm very uncomfortable with it because I don't mind somebody having, religious beliefs. Don't try to give it to me and keep talking about it. I will say, okay, brother, that's the way you believe, but don't try to force it on me. But I've had people do that to me. I don't want to hear it. But somebody who wants to go around and say that he's give his heart to Jesus and I don't care. I mean, what does that make it? What's he trying to prove? I don't know, but I don't have anything to do with it.
Well, just how publicly religious he is, I guess. So he's doing this interview. It was about like 11 and a half minutes. It's on YouTube. Hogan talks about being recognized in Mozambique, healing a rift with his dad after beating the Iron Sheik.
Wait a minute. Back up. Mozambique. Is that in Africa?
Yeah.
He got baptized there?
No. He's saying that he was saying how famous he was. And he was saying, who's the quarterback? Is it Tom Brady?
Yeah.
He's basically making a point that he was more famous and more recognizable than Tom Brady, which, in fairness, I think Hogan is, because no one will know who Tom Brady is
probably.
in the UK.
Because he's been on TV. He's been on TV. Listen, football, it's like somebody says about Taylor Swift, and the guy, what's his name? What was his name? Her boyfriend now what's his name?
Oh, no idea. I couldn't care less about that kind of case.
Yeah, but they said that, she is using him to get famous. I said, what? I said, nobody out of the United States knows who he is, but everybody knows who's Taylor Swift is. So, but he said more people know him than know Tom Brady. I kind of believe that.
I think he's probably right, but he was saying Mozambique, he's more famous than Tom Brady, which I don't know, maybe he is. He also talks about healing a rift with his father after beating the Iron Sheik for the WWF title at Madison Square Garden, and Andre the Giant is the usual 7'4" and 650 pounds. And then he comes out with this absolute perler of statements. Now,
hang on, folks, here it comes.
So he says, getting emotional discussing Roddy Piper. Hogan said that Piper left a voice message after he passed away that he was with Jesus after previously stating he was not a spiritual person. Anyway, in the wrestling business, this is the quote, for 25 years, we couldn't stand each other. We were at each other's throats. I know it's predetermined and all that, but he did not like me and I did not like him. That's just how it was. Once we got older and we had some conversations, we started talking. He started asking about my spirituality. He didn't connect, but he was very curious. He wouldn't surrender. All of a sudden, he passes away. There was an A&E special about Roddy Piper. When they go to the credits, there is a message. It's not a text message, it was a voice message. But this text message came in 2 days after he died. And the message goes,
I saw the light. I'm walking with Jesus today, my brother. Walking with Jesus, loving you and praying for you.
I was like, he would have never said that when he was here. It is amazing how things work. So, previously, this was actually included on an A&E documentary on Roddy Piper, this voice message at the end. So you can actually hear it, and I'll try and include it. Chris, if you can edit it in at some point, that'd be good. But Hogan has talked about this previously and basically said it's coincidence. It arrived at my phone after he died, which sometimes happens with messages. But this time he basically says that wouldn't have happened if, he was alive, and, he's probably just given him a bell from, the afterlife and said I'm just having a stroll with Jesus, having a windy walk with him.
Very creative story. Very creative. So what he is trying to get people to believe that he didn't send that message while he was still alive, but he died. From the other side, this message suddenly comes in, thinking about you, walking with Jesus, love you, brother. Now, if I had been him, I would say, I need to run a number check on this message. I got to see where this message came from because the TV, I mean the phone company, they got a record of all that. Where did it come from? So if it came from his phone, I don't know, but I think it makes a great story. It really does, but I don't believe it. And he could have had the message on his phone, but I do not believe that it came from the afterlife and entered into present life. I don't believe that. And I don't think nobody else does either.
I wonder if occurred to Hogan that he says, "Well, Roddy Piper wasn't religious, so are you sure that he wasn't just leaving you a message and taking the piss?"
Yeah, he could just left the message and I guess because they had been talking about religion, right?
Yeah, but if Roddy Piper wasn't religious and then all of a sudden he drops that one on you, you probably assume he was joking.
Yeah, because he would know that. Now, when did Hogan get such a sudden rush of religion? When he got
I
married to
don't
this
know.
new woman?
Well, apparently so. Yeah, I'm figuring that sort of involved somehow because yeah, he gets baptized. Make sure the cameras are rolling, brother. Catch this one. But yeah, that's
Hey,
how it
listen,
was.
you know, people hear this and they go, "Well, yeah, I agree with Dutch or I agree with James." If we heard that in the car going to a town, brother, it would be the topic of conversation in the dressing room because we wouldn't let him hear it. We'd say, "Hey, did you hear about what Hogan said about you getting a message from the great beyond?" What? 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 And everybody else they would have the same thought about it. Then we'd all be looking at Hogan like, whatever, brother, whatever you say. But oh, we hear that shit every day, crazy stuff like that.
That's
But
out of area.
huh?
He's got a call from out of area. Oh, it might be Roddy Piper.
Yeah. Well,
Oh dear.
that's a crazy story.
One more bit of Hulk Hogan news that you brought to my attention. So, Keith Davidson is the lawyer who is alleged to have negotiated hush money payments from Donald Trump.
Yeah, doing the Trump trial,
Yes, this is what, day 10, I think it is. He
something
also had
like that.
dealings with Hulk Hogan some years back. So, from CNN, Trump attorney Emil Bove? How do you pronounce it?
Bose, Boze,
It's Bove.
Bove,
Yeah,
I
we'll say
think.
Bove. So, Mr. Bove raised a host of celebrities Keith Davidson has dealt with: Hulk Hogan, Lindsay Lohan, Charlie Sheen, and Tila Tequila, your old friend, seeking both to undercut
Oh,
Davidson's
I love
credibility.
Tila. I love her when she was getting those rocks bounced off her head at that insane clown posse concert. Oh, I love that.
Oh, yeah, that's on the Insane Clown Posse clip. You've got to search that. It's on the YouTube channel archive. Seeking both to undercut Davidson's credibility as a witness and to argue that the details he cut involving the former president followed a long-running pattern. Davidson was evasive, responding to the battery of questions about his prior celebrity dealings and testimony that got heated at times. Bove pressed Davidson on whether he had studied up on extortion law when he sought money from AMI and Cohen for the McDougal and Daniels deals. This is Stormy Daniels, of course. Bove asked Davidson whether he went right up to the line without committing extortion with the Trump deals. "I don't understand your question," Davidson responded. And then Bove turned to celebrity deals he was tied to. Davidson was questioned about investigations by federal and local authorities over his dealings to sell Hulk Hogan a sex tape from his client, which was revealed in court by Bove. Davidson conceded there was a monetary demand made to Hogan to try to sell him the tape. So we're
The
getting back to
tape
the
was
trial again.
was Hogan. The tape we're talking about, folks, you got to help me out here a little bit, was Hogan having sex with apparently, he said, his best friend, a DJ in Tampa. And what was his name?
Bubba the Love Spooge or Sponge,
Bubba
whatever.
the Love Sponge. Yeah. And of course, Hogan, he won about $30 million out of that. That's what they settled it at. So,
Oh no,
but
they actually they awarded him more. They awarded him something like 110, 140 million. At the time, it was like the biggest
I don't think
settlement.
so.
Or they would have reduced it on appeal.
I thought it was like 30 million is what they settled with.
Hang
So
on. It's all right. Don't wait for me. You carry on.
no, I'm just saying, hell, if I could sue somebody for 30 million on a sex tape, hell, I'll go out and down proposition the first available person on the street.
Dutch, we're both exactly right. A jury awarded $140 million judgment to Hogan, but on appeal settled for $31 million. So there you go.
So I wonder, listen, did he get that money? You know, you can be awarded an extravagant amount of money, but you really don't get that money. Some people, say if they told me to pay somebody $1 million, well, hell, I'd just go file bankruptcy. I said, I ain't gonna deal with it. So they get nothing. They can get their name mentioned at my bankruptcy trial or hearing.
They get a
And,
free shout out.
You know, Trump, they fined him, or they awarded some woman said he assaulted her in a women's changing area in a store. And they awarded her $86 million. Listen, I don't get it. How are you going to get somebody $86 million? I thought, what is that awarded on? How do they come up with $86 million or $83 million? I don't get it. So, but see if he got that 32 million or whatever it was. Did he
Well, they
get
say
it?
31 million, but I don't. I know they filed bankruptcy, so goodness knows. I mean, if they got paid, it would have been through the insurers anyway. So, speaking.
So if
speaking
okay,
of,
let me ask you this: to think legally, if you know if you get this big settlement from somebody, and you know they ain't got $30 million just off the top of just on their bank account, and you pretty sure they're not going to be able to pay it and file bankruptcy, why would the judge even award that? I wonder, say, okay, I win $31 million. I can say, Judge, I'll settle for 5. I think he's got 5 million. So just have him give me 5 million and we'll
well, that's
see.
basically it. Yeah, you just try and get whatever you can out of them. In that sense, yeah, you can. I mean, you can be awarded $5 billion, but I mean, if you haven't got it, then you get what you're given, essentially. Speaking of the lawsuits and sexual assault allegations and stuff like that. Just before we get to that, I sent you a video of Vince McMahon, a fresh video of Vince McMahon. He's back with the mustache and back with the dyed hair. But
Yep.
what do you think of him? Walking into a restaurant, was he?
Walking in a restaurant with a cane. And even though Vince was always in great shape, what he probably has is neuropathy in the lower legs, which causes no balance and inability to really move properly. I think that's what he's got. And he looks like he's lost weight. Doesn't look like he's been in the gym. You never really saw Vince dressed like he was dressed, but he didn't look like he was down. He looked like he was having a pretty good time. And I forgot who he was walking into the restaurant with. There's just a little video of him coming in with the cane. So, and what is going on with that suit?
Well, that's a good question. John Laurinaitis. He's still with his wife, by the way, because I know you were asking that recently.
I did ask that. Is she still with him?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually checked out her Instagram.
I would like to be a fly on the wall with those Bella twins when they're together, talking about that sorry John Laurinaitis and how he's embarrassed their mother and embarrassed the family. They, I think, literally have to hate him because I think they kind of know the truth, whether they prove it or not, but they kind of know the truth. And they's all kind of, my old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's always been fire around that guy, always. So, but.
Well, do you know what the fire might be? Is that his pants might be on fire because he seems to be absolutely. Basically, what he's done is he's got a Chinese menu legal defense. Apparently, column A hasn't worked, so he's gone for column B now. So
Okay, now
Uh,
explain this. What do you mean a Chinese defense? What is
well,
that?
no, it's a Chinese menu defense. So if you just like pick from A and then that doesn't work out,
Oh,
well, let's pick from B now. So
okay.
I also tried to. I had a look on his wife's, the Bella mother, her
Hmm.
Instagram. Nothing's been updated since Christmas, so that was before all the allegations came out. And John Laurinaitis' Instagram is private now, so I can't check it. But
Hmm.
best we know, they're still together. But John Laurinaitis is now supporting Vince McMahon's motion. So Laurinaitis' lawyer Edward M. Brennan released the following statement on behalf of his client on Thursday, which is today for you and yesterday for me.
Hmm. Yep.
John
Yep.
Laurinaitis has filed a motion today, fully joining in and adopting Vince McMahon's motion to compel arbitration. Mr. Laurinaitis corroborates Mr. McMahon in publicly declaring that Ms. Grant's allegations of sexual abuse and coercion in her complaints are completely unfounded. My client will fight these false allegations together with Mr. McMahon in the proper forum, arbitration. Now, let's just hit this one quickly. Do you remember,
Yeah.
Dutch, what he
No,
said a couple of months ago?
he was forced. He was a victim. He was a victim. Now he is changing, and this is all attorneys. This is all attorneys. Attorneys has talked to his attorney, and let's team up here, and because they know that if John Laurinaitis turns on Vince, Vince is cooked. But if they can claim he was a victim too, poor John Laurinaitis. And I've never met really, not a lot of guys. I may have met a few, but I didn't think he was held in any high regard in that dressing room at all. Because guys just didn't like him. When Vince took over WCW, or when they folded, I don't know how John Laurinaitis got a job with Vince. I guess he called him up, and they were looking for somebody to do his job, and he walked right in,
I can
right
tell
from
you.
W.
I can actually tell
What?
you. So he had gone back to WCW in 2000 because he was with All Japan for ages. And then he ended up in a sort of booking capacity in 2000 because one, he'd worked with Giant Baba and All Japan, where they have very elaborate finishes to matches. And also, he had a degree and he used to work for Honeywell. So when WCW folded, he ended up going to the WWF in a office capacity. And
Mhm.
then he became the understudy of Jim Ross, and then Jim Ross gets ousted from the vice president of talent relations, and that's when John takes over. So that's how he ends up in the position he's in.
I think he got ousted, if wrestling history serves me correctly. He got ousted with a little help from John Laurinaitis,
Yeah. So
and
they,
he worked and to get Jim out, and Jim probably got mad, and after all the work he put in, he thought Vince owed him more, and he did. But then I bet John went in there and said, he's an old timer. He doesn't think like, we need to move forward. And he kind of convinced, he convinced Vince that to get a new start, a new look, a new image, and he needed to hire John, and he did.
now we've already established that John Laurinaitis is now saying, well, one, he was agreeing with her originally, saying that, he was a victim just like Janelle Grant. And now
Yes.
he's saying that her allegations of sexual abuse and coercion are completely unfounded. That is a quote. Now, McMahon's lawyer, Jessica Rosenberg, has added, in January 2024, Ms. Grant, a 43-year-old with a law degree who is in love with Mr. McMahon and devastated by their breakup.
Okay.
Filed.
You said this before, something I haven't heard.
Okay,
She has a law degree.
apparently so.
Hmm. And I don't know why this hasn't been brought up before. I mean, I haven't heard it.
I mean, it's not really that important, is it?
But a law degree, are we dealing with legalities here? See what I mean?
What are you saying,
And
that
she
she know
has a
how to game
law.
the system?
No, I mean, I just haven't heard it before. Where does she have a law degree from?
Oh, Lord knows. This is the first time I've heard about this as well. So, I mean, she
You
has
have
a law
Google
degree.
in front of you? You have Google in front of you?
No, I mean, I do, but I mean, I don't think there's been any other information about this. This is the first I've
Okay.
seen.
Okay.
So, devastated by the
So if
breakup.
anybody
far
out
from
there
great.
has any knowledge of Janelle Grant having a law degree from anywhere, from Bubbles Law School, contact us and let us know.
Now, a copy of today's motion to compel arbitration from Laurinaitis' legal team is below. Defendant John Laurinaitis, by and through his undersigned attorneys, respectfully moves this court for an order compelling arbitration of this matter pursuant to the federal arbitration, blah, 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 blah. For the reasons set forth more fully in defendant Vincent K. McMahon's motion to compel arbitration. Just trying to see if there's anything else that needs to really be said. Further moves for the courts for such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper and seeks leave to advance additional. Nothing really else to add to that other than the fact that, as we said before, John Laurinaitis was claiming he was a victim. In fact, here's the quote. Like the plaintiff, Janelle Grant, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim. In this case, not a predator. The truth will come out. And now he's just done a complete about turn when absolutely everyone started doubling over laughing when he claimed he was a victim as well. So he's just gone. He's done himself no favors here.
Okay, and common sense, if you were looking at that with just the lens of common sense, wouldn't that jump out at you? I mean, okay, if they're going to compel arbitration, there's no jury trial, correct?
Now, some people wrote to me. One or both parties can request juries. So it actually depends. It can be judge, can be jury. So, but a lot of people wrote to me and told me
Really?
that. Yes.
So it would be a civil trial or a criminal trial. Civil?
This is civil, yeah.
And I found out something about civil trials. My good buddy named Burbrower, I think's his name. He'll hear his name. He'll know I'm talking about him.
Good
But he
buddy, you say.
says,
You can't remember his name.
and Adam Burbrower, I think, is his name. But I always thought that you just had to have you don't need a unanimous outcome. So if there's 6 people on the jury, you can win with 6, of course, you can win with 6, but you can win with 4. I thought you could win with, you can win with 5, but I thought you could win with 4. So maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. With civil trials, as we discussed last week, the burden of proof is a lot lower. And basically, whoever the jury or the judge think is right, regardless of how slim the margins are, they win.
I should know. I took law at the University of Dutch. It's where I took law. So, but I didn't do very well. I slept through the class.
But you still paid for the certificate, and that's the important thing.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Right, we're going to move on now. Taz, injuries. So it's been said the last few weeks because he's been sort of getting involved in the storylines with his son, Hook, in AEW, but the commentators and everybody's been basically saying he can't get involved physically because he's got pre-existing neck injury, but he's also got a knee injury as well. But from Twitter, a day or two ago, says, from Taz, went to a highly acclaimed orthopedic surgeon yesterday to discuss my knee. It's been brutal for a couple of years. He did testing and x-rays on me. So both of my shoulders and knees need to be replaced for joints.
Both shoulders?
Both shoulders, both knees.
Damn, he's talking about just an overhaul.
Yeah.
Basically.
So he says, I'm not doing this right now. I'm going to keep trying to trying regenerative procedures and try to suck it up dealing with the pain. This is not from bumps. It's from training too heavy like a caveman trying to be big. I'm posting this for today's wrestlers. Please be smarter. Times have changed for the better. So, yeah, I mean, we've already had your reaction, really. But, I mean, did you ever have shoulder issues when you were a wrestler?
No.
Full-time?
Never had it. Other than laying on the mat for 3 seconds.
You what, getting bed sores?
I was getting like big blisters from laying there so long. But Yeah, he's not a tall guy. He's about 5'6", maybe. Or maybe a little higher and taller. I mean, and he was always a big kid, and he probably did train like a maniac to get big. But the old saying is, you can get bigger. You know what you can't do?
Get taller.
Get taller. You can't do it. So if you're 5'6", that almost eliminates you from the beginning. Because when you have a 11th grade high school student and he's taller than you, well, it doesn't look good. But and he was really good in the ring too. I mean, he had that gimmick, played it well, and I am kind of impressed by his son, his kid, Hook. I think Hook, he has the look to be a big star, and we'll see how AEW treats him going forward. Was Hook on the shows this past week?
I didn't watch this. I couldn't watch anything. Could not watch anything from here
Mhm.
anyway. It wouldn't even let me, for whatever reason, the internet yesterday wouldn't even let me download a podcast from this hotel. So I don't know what was going
Mhm.
on. But luckily, it's all right that we can do a Zoom call on this. I think we've talked
Hey,
about.
this is working better than if if you're in the UK and talking to me. This is working great so far.
Yeah, no, it's doing fantastic. I'm pleasantly surprised with that. I think we just really need to add Get Well Taz because we like Taz
Yeah,
definitely
Tad's a good
on this
guy. He
show.
he is.
Um, just one more thing with knee injuries. I know you've had the leg break and everything. We've talked about that before. You know, during the Zeb Colter run. Knee injuries. How have you coped with those? Because you're always going to get twinges, twists, and turns and stuff in your knees. How do you cope with those when you can't take time off?
Well, if you go into the ring and any part of your body is hurt, the first thing you do is inform your opponent. Stay away from the knee or don't touch the knee. And once he's been informed, not touch the knee, if he leg dives me, then we got a problem. The first time you can say, "What did I just tell you before we came out here, you moron?" I said, "What's the knee?" And that's the first thing you grab. And of course, the next thing you hear is, "Oh, I forgot, I forgot, I forgot." As long as he don't do it again, we're fine. But if he does it again, I got to do something. You got to give him a pop or give him a little receipt. Not bad, but stay away from the knee. I've asked you. And that's how, or if your back is hurt, or shoulders, or neck, the things you worry about are your neck, shoulders, and knees, and your lower back. You take care of those, you're okay. But if you don't, you got a problem.
Now we're talking about knees again. Powerhouse Hobbs injury looks to be a significant injury. You watched the video.
I
I don't
did.
even know how it happened.
I don't
Discuss
either. I looked at. I tried to slow it down. I don't think did that really happen? Is he really hurt?
Yeah, out for a significant period of time. Don't know the exact nature of the injury, but if he's going to be out that long, that's got to be ACL.
Well, I'm looking at it. I said, well, I can see this, and I don't know why they don't do this more. Injuries in the ring, stop the match, and then if he knew he was going to have a surgery or whatever. But that's hindsight. I don't know if it will work or not. But I don't know if he was limping on it. He was selling it. Hobbs a pretty big boy. He's about 260. So who was he working with?
John Moxley.
Yeah. I didn't much care for the match, but it was okay. But
Did you actually watch any of the match beyond the
well,
injury?
I watched Moxley hit him about 150 times on top of the ropes on the corner, and I'm thinking, what the hell? And then he'd come out there and he suplexed him and beat him. Yeah, I think the finish. Well, if his knee is hurt, you can't even do a finish. So maybe they just come up with that right off the bat and suplex but I do like the finish that it wasn't a screw job. He just beat him. And now he's got a reason. His knee went out, and that's why Moxley beat him. And he can always say that, and the commentators can too.
In the old days, if you got an injury that bad, I know they were probably more rare back in the older days because less risks were being taken, but would you try and gut it out and finish the match, or would you just take a count out loss?
According to the severity of the injury. And that's up to the guy that got hurt. If he can finish the match, finish the match. If he can't finish the match, call it and tell him to ring the bell. Because if you're really, really hurt and you know what you got planned, what you got come up, and you can't do it, and it's going to be a massive change, yeah, you can end it right there. Just tell the referee, or let's go. What most guys do is say, let's go home. Let's do the finish, boom, and let's do it, and let's get out of here.
Now, one thing that weirdly, because you mentioned that, Mercedes Moné lost, I think, some belt in Stardom last year to Willow Nightingale, and that was called on the fly. She hurt her knee, and she knew it was her, and they changed the match, and then Willow ended up winning the belt. I think that's right. Anyway, don't quote me. But I bring that up because Willow was wrestling Sky Blue on AEW Rampage. And you told me to add this into the script. So why don't you tell us what went viral the last few days over this?
Well, apparently the chair shot or whatever. I mean, she did a hell of a move at the end. But, okay, she beats up Sky Blue, takes her outside, and Willow picks up a chair. Sky Blue jumps off. It's the worst chair I've ever seen. She missed her this far because when she comes off, her hands are here. So the chair hits the hand, she goes down. And it was supposed to be a chair shot to the head or to the face, but didn't even get close. And then Willow pulls the chair out from underneath the ring. She already had two chairs in the ring anyway. I don't know. And she got Sky Blue and set her in the chair and she ran down the apron and did a forward roll and to land on her. And Sky Blue, of course, she moved, but what a move to be. I don't know why they do moves like that, because that is a very, very dangerous move. You know, the chairs don't give that much, and they're landing on concrete, but it may be covered with a little bit of a pad, but it's still harder than a rock. So when they do that, I'm thinking, what are they doing? I did see, who was the girl who jumped off the top rope on this guy, and she was up 15 feet. And when is Ring of Honor. What's the girl in Ring of Honor, I think?
Pass. Don't know.
I don't either.
You got me there.
But he moved too, and she just took the chair out, which looks good to people sitting in the arena or on TV. And to somebody gets paralyzed by that. I don't know why they would even try these moves like that. Oh, it's a great looking move, but why? Why do it? I mean, they can do it if they want to, but they take a hell of a chance. Now, these girls are young. Willow, how old is Willow? 23, 24, maybe?
Ooh. While I Google it, let me just tell you my theory. That they did, the cannonball into the chair to make up for that horrible chair shot to try and make the fans forget and then get them back with it. So you do something really fake looking that, you shouldn't have sold. And then you've got to do something really realistic looking to try and get the fans back on board. So you sort of like overcompensating, that kind of thing. Willow was 30.
Well, I think this was planned from the beginning. That pulling it out. I mean, she was supposed to hit her with the chair, put her in the chair, and then miss it, flatten the chair. I don't care if it was planned or not. These people, these guys, or this talent, male or female, or transgender, I don't care. Still, the body is going to remember it. The fans might remember it 45 seconds after the show ends, or looking at it. Oh, wow. But see, they don't feel the pain. Now, she may not have got hurt. I hope she didn't, but I bet she's feeling it. So I've been saying this all along. Somebody's going to get paralyzed or killed doing one of these moves. And then, oh, well, we didn't mean that to happen. Okay.
It's going to take that.
See, Tony Khan is still selling that little bump he took.
Oh, that's something I didn't add as well, is that Tony Khan, like, he was in the neck brace for like the Rampage tapings or Collision tapings. And he comes out after the thing and he did a little dance and they went, ah, my neck. Like that.
Now, who was there to say, if you're going to go out there, don't do that? Because that makes people kind of laugh at it. If you're going to be hurt, be hurt. Don't go out there and say, oh, and then laugh around and dance around. That's just, if I'd have been the Young Bucks, I'd have got mad at, I'd got pissed off at that. If you're going to sell it, sell it. If you don't sell it, I don't even know why we did it.
Willow is,
I mean, now we
30,
can
by the
take
way.
all this stuff too seriously, but Tony Khan is too inexperienced to know what to do to get something over. But we did come up with that idea about the fight for the company, didn't we?
Yeah. It's a fine idea.
And go ahead.
Willow was 30.
Okay. Where's she from?
She is from North Valley Stream, New York.
Okay. And
Shall-
she's actually pretty good. And you know who likes her? Kids love her. And the women like her. So, and the guys, they kind of like her, but she's not a damn starlet, but they still like her. So I think she's got a good future if she doesn't paralyze herself.
Right, we're going to move on. Kenny Omega attacked on Dynamite. You watched it. This happened.
I did watch it
yesterday, as for you, and
Yep.
2 days ago for me. This
Yep.
whole time dilation thing is really, really just odd at the moment. But yeah, go on. Right. So this is the big go home angle for AEW Dynamite yesterday / 2 days ago as we record this. What did you see? What do you think of Kenny's speech as well before Okada came out?
Well, I'm watching it. The only thing I think it was a little too long, but he had to give his speech out. You know, it took 20 minutes to do this, almost 19 minutes to do that. That's a long time to hold an audience without anything happening. He's out there saying that he had diverticulitis or whatever it was, which is a very dangerous thing to have. I know that. And he's not been cleared to wrestle, and he wasn't even supposed to be on that show from what I heard him say. And he said they got him advertised, so he's going to go. So he went, and he did his part well. It just went long, and here come in who's the blonde-headed Japanese guy they got, the Bucks.
Okada.
He came in, and then little butthole Elephant Boy came in and hit him in the head and did all kind of stuff. And then here come the Bucks again, almost like they did last week. And they were trying to give, I keep calling him Elephant Boy and Okada. Like, why did you do this? And then they straightened him up. It's almost the same thing they did last week with Tony Khan. And then they took him out, and then FTR, they come running down the deal to make the save, and everybody bails out. And that surprised me because I think they are learning how to do some of these run-ins without having a big fight at the end. They just got out of the ring and left. Then they carved him out of the ring, took him to the back. And this is a WWE special. where they carry him on the gurney, and they all of a sudden they show up. Like, guys, let's be a little bit realistic here. Put some security around something a little bit, and they beat him up, beat FTR up, and that's how it did it go off the air then?
Yeah, but then it went to AEW Rampage, which was right after Dynamite, and that's when they did the sort of follow up immediately afterwards.
Okay. But it wasn't a bad angle. But I will say this about AEW. They are slowing it down. They are telling a story, and you just can't teach somebody to tell a story right off the bat. But they are, you know how long it took for the WWE to tell the Bloodline story? Well, they're telling the story here, and they're taking their time with it. So let's see where it gets them. It is better than just rushing through and doing everything they can that they learned at wrestling school. They are telling a story, and like we say, now the daddy has just got to lay back a little bit, and finally at the right spot, he comes in and he tells the son, you need to get rid of this thing. You got hurt. And I said, I got an offer for it. And I think it's a really good offer. And I think I want to sell it. Because everybody knows he uses daddy's money.
Hmm.
And
I've got
so
$2
now,
billion. Forbes said that's how much they were worth.
yeah, and he said they're gonna give me $2 billion. And he says, I'm gonna take it. No, daddy, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Or whatever. And they keep working and keep working and keep working. And finally they take it over anyway without any papers being signed because they screw the old man up. And let's see where it takes them. With Kenny Omega, he's not ready to go back to work right yet.
No,
He's not
he's
another
months
2
away.
months, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
he's months away. It's not a fixed timeline either, really, with this kind of thing. But it looks like he probably will have to have the surgery.
Again, didn't he already have surgery?
No, he elected to try non-surgical alternatives first. Essentially everything but
Like doing an
surgery.
angle on TV
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting bumped out on concrete. That's good.
Well, I was surprised he did that, to be perfectly honest, because they were really hamming it up, saying, one shot to the stomach and his pancreas could explode or whatever. They were like really making, this could be a medical
That's
horror show.
that's attempted murder.
Mm.
Hey, we should have them arrested.
Yeah, you have to make the call though, because 911, I'd probably get the cricket scores over here or something, So
Well, yeah, but they could be charged with it and go in the ring and take them and put them in the car.
Dutch, I'm interested in something you said there. You said something about security. So, through the Dutch Mantell lens, right? So you've seen that they played out the story over the course of about 15 minutes at the end of Dynamite, and then they did a bit of a follow-up on Rampage. What would you have done to improve the presentation of that? You said Kenny Omega's speech went a little bit long. You've mentioned security. How would you make that a 10 out of 10 segment, in your opinion?
Well, they attempted to do security, but they only had 2 guys try to do it. So if they have 2 and then 2 more come and they get kicked off or they're so good at super kicks anyway, super kick the guy off and then they go back, and I think they need to throw a little more urgency in there. And I mean, FTR, they got to the ring as fast as they can. I don't really find that much wrong with it. I think they did it pretty well. And let's see where they go with it. But now they see, I've said this before. It's not the first step you take in booking an angle. It's the second. Now they followed that up. Now they can coast just a little bit and then take it to a pay-per-view. And I don't know. I think you got to get the old man in there. What's his name? Shad Khan. That's a hell of a name, isn't it? Shad Khan. And you've never heard him talk. So if you brought them together and they're talking, But you got to watch making damn Tony Khan look like just a jack off. But daddy,
Wow.
but daddy, but daddy.
Having his 73-year-old father come in to rescue him.
Yeah, but he's got, well, he's not coming in. Well, he just came into the ring. But if they have a meeting, he says, this is it. I'm tired of this, blah, 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 blah. And I want you to tell whoever you need to tell that, you know, I'm selling the company. And when we find out who he's selling to, you could ride that for a couple of weeks too. But it makes sense, right?
Yeah, of course it does. I think in this sense, a power struggle would be good. I just think we need to keep Tony Khan off TV.
Yeah, but he was the start of it. And he's not going to stay off TV.
No, I think he's got the bug.
Oh, he does. Well, he's had it forever. Remember, he wasn't going to be in any type of angle. But, and I think this is not his idea. I think this is the Bucks' idea or somebody else. But it's not a bad idea. But they're telling the story is the important thing. You can always change the story. You can't change the outcome of a match. Because if you piss the people off with your finish, you can't change that. This is something that's fluid. You can change this. So I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do.
So the next thing on the agenda is Jesse Ventura speaking with WWE. So this is from CageSideSeats.com. Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura could be on his way back to wrestling. The WWE Hall of Famer and legendary color commentator recently revealed in an interview with the Vanguard, whatever that is, that he is in talks with the company now. The Vince McMahon regime is no more. It required them going in this new direction, says Jesse. And I hope you get what I'm saying about the new direction. The direction the company is now going was good enough for Jesse Ventura and the WWE to begin talking again, said the ex-wrestler. Following WrestleMania 40, Ventura, who doesn't talk much about wrestling these days, was quick to go to social media and commend the company for a job well done on such an extravagant event. Congratulations to Cody, Rhodes, and Triple H, wrote Ventura. Let the new era begin. Also, fantastic job to Roman Reigns and The Rock. Without fantastic villains, there would be no outstanding heroes. Epic. So, what's all this about Jesse Ventura going back, and what possible part could he play? Because he's not followed the company.
I don't think they're going to have him on. I don't think they're going to have him on play-by-play, except he is better than I think some they have there. He's a lot better because he's interesting. He's a color guy. Nothing against Barrett. Nothing against him, but he just, with him and whoever the guy is with him, I forgot. But they're like two straight announcers. I mean, give me some damn Heenan. Give me some Lawler. Give me some of that stuff. Give me anything that makes you think. And McAfee is great. McAfee's out there. You don't know what he's going to say, but whatever he says is going to be entertaining. That's what you need. And Jesse Ventura, that's how he got over in wrestling, is doing the play-by-play with Vince. And when he's talking about the new direction, yes, the new direction has really worked. But they were coming out of a story, and now they've wrapped that story up. Now, you mentioned a little earlier the ratings of SmackDown or Raw are down.
But yeah, both of them are down since. Yeah. Now, this could be partially attributed to the NBA playoffs. But I mean, for God's sake, I mean, the NFL's, as you say, more popular, and Raw's gone from, they've both gone down, essentially. And down to the point where it can't purely just be the NBA games.
And what did I say they went down?
You said they went down because the story's wrapped up. Cody's now the champion. But also...
Okay, listen to this.
Okay.
What was Cody saying? He wants to finish the story. So he finished the story. Like the chapter ended. And then all of a sudden, you don't have Roman there. You don't have The Rock there.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing a lot of people.
Rhea Ripley,
So,
Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, who injured his elbow, CM Punk, who's
so
still injured.
they're all hurt or gone. So people are going to wait till they got that story kind of reheated back up with Rock and somebody. Now, when the baby face wins, see, they will pay to see the good guy win. They won't pay to see the bad guy win because it ends wrong. They don't want to see that. So Cody, and this was the same thing that would have happened last year when they were, where were they, in Montreal somewhere or wherever?
What,
That
WrestleMania?
no. SummerSlam, maybe. No, it was
Oh, you're
Cody
talking with
versus
Sami
Roman.
Zayn. Sami
Yeah,
Zayn was in Montreal.
okay. WrestleMania last year was Cody and Roman, right?
He was, yeah.
And who won? Roman.
Roman.
And the story got stronger because now they had something. The underdog was, he's going to make amends. He was going to get back at that Roman Reigns. And now people at home, they don't sit here and just try to dissect it like we do. He won. So now what is there to go see? Nothing at this point.
Mm.
So they're going to try to tell a few more stories, but they're going to get back to Roman and The Rock. But I don't know when The Rock's coming back.
Yeah.
Rock will be gone. Rock will be gone for 6 months. So
Well-
we'll see what they do.
Well, I mean, a good guy's only as good as, the villain, the heel, the
That's it.
antagonist. And pretty much all the antagonists have gone. So now what you've got is, as you say, a chapter's closed. I'd go one further than that. The book is closed. You can
Mhm.
write another volume of this, but now we've started with this entire new book with
Well,
none of your
we're
favorite characters.
We're starting with a new chapter with Solo Sokoa and his little cousin Tonga. What's his name? Now
Tamatanga.
they're gonna try to take over, and let's see where they go. Because I'm sure they got a plan for it. But still, Roman is sitting in the background. Rock is sitting in the background. So, but see, they're telling a story amongst themselves that the people aren't seeing yet. Because who took it over? Solo did. And now Rock may not agree with that. Roman Reigns may not agree with it. So what's going to happen is I think Rock will come back as a heel for a while, and Roman will come back as a heel for a while. Then they will turn on Roman. Now you got a story. Now they're fighting for the bloodline. Who's going to run it? And then it's an easy step now for The Rock to step back in. And now they'll go up to another WrestleMania with nothing but success, I think, because this is a little bit of a time of year. It's May. May traditionally in the wrestling season kind of cools off because the kids are getting out of school and people planning summer vacations and that's what it used to be. I don't know what it is now. But
It's a lame duck period now. But the thing is, what they
Yeah,
used to
it
do
is.
when WrestleMania's gone past, they used to have, let's say, whatever the main event was, and then they'd have a return match on the next pay-per-view, or they continue that story up until SummerSlam, or something like that. Whereas now you can't do that. As you said, the chapter's closed because all of the major players, aside from Cody, are gone. So now all we're in
Well,
is just a lame duck period that we're going to be stuck in for months.
it takes one half of a TV to put it in their heads, the other half in the TV to turn them. And now it's all fresh. Now you got Roman fighting his cousins for control of the bloodline. And who does this leave in a really good position?
I know you're going to say.
Paul Heyman.
Ah,
Paul Heyman is a great position. And they don't know what to do, and they turn to Heyman, and Heyman knows more than the average cat on the street, so he gets in touch with Roman, but not telling anybody, and they start again. I'm really, really interested in seeing how they do this because I have referred to it before as what they have done up to here with the bloodline is it was a work in progress, but it was a thing of beauty watching them weave and tell the story. And if you watch your commentators, they don't get ahead of the story. I wish they'd slow down a little bit, but they're telling the story right with the fans. But what you want to do, you want that fan to sit out there and say, oh man, just like we're talking here, they're saying, what's going to happen? This is what I think is going to happen. No, this is going to happen. This is going, that's interest. Before people says, who gives a crap what they do? Hell, it's boring as hell. And nobody cared. Now they care.
Speaking of which, did you watch SmackDown on Friday?
I did watch SmackDown.
Has this been the worst WWE draft ever? Because, I mean, they get more inconsequential every year.
The draft, see, by protecting the champions, that took the interest out of it. That took all your champions and put them ineligible to be drafted. Well, I guess, I don't know what to go. I never liked the draft anyway. Now, if you're going to have a draft, wouldn't you draft like, I would draft unknown people.
What?
I would have fans vote on it. Say, put out a something on X, Twitter, and you got these 10 people. Who are you going to draft? You can draft 4 of them. And I think putting the champions off like they're ineligible to be drafted. And they did cover Roman Reigns perfectly. He withdrew his name from the draft because he's going home for a while. And they did that well. So they couldn't have drafted him anyway because he refuses to be drafted, which makes sense. So I bought it and hopefully the fans did too.
But most of the people who were drafted just ended up on the same show that they were on anyway. And also with this draft thing as well. But you can just turn up on any show you want, really. I mean, as long as it suits the story, you're not sort of beholden, absolutely to wherever you're drafted.
I'll say one thing about SmackDown last Friday. They did a misdirection a couple of times with Kevin Owens.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they were fighting in the back. They pulled them apart. Then out come the girls, the Jade and what's her name?
Bianca.
And they were talking to those little Japanese girls. And I said last week, I said, I said it on my other show that I do that talks about SmackDown. I said, you had these big girls and they were going to beat up the little bitty Japanese girls. But before, and you say it, okay, they're going to start fighting. But all of a sudden, here comes Kevin Owens beating the crap out of somebody, Logan Paul or whoever. But it was totally unexpected. And that was a good way to get through it because they had it in their heads that now Jade and Bianca are together and they're going against the Japanese girls.
We are going to move on. The Rock, prima donna. That has been the accusation leveled by a website called The Wrap.
Oh, screw The Wrap. Who do they quote on this? Nobody.
Well, why they
know
insiders.
Yeah, that could be anybody. That could be the damn custodian. So nobody's going to say anything about The Rock if they know about their position. They want a job. Okay, you're the boss, right? And somebody writes about you. Oh, he was late and he's this and he's that. Well, if I knew who said that, we got a problem because he shouldn't be letting that out. And The Rock maybe he's got a $30 million job at TKO. He might have been needed somewhere else. I mean, he's not on the show. I don't know if he wrote it or not or helped write it, but you got Triple H there. So he may have been not needed, but they're talking about his movies now. He was late to his movies. He was 8 hours late to one. He was an hour late to something else. Yeah. Vince, sometimes he's supposed to be there at like 11 o'clock in the morning, 12. He'd show up at 5. I didn't hear anybody say that Vince was late. Nobody said that. And they're going to have this so they find out you better watch running your mouth to who you're running it to. And I don't see anything wrong with it anyway. He
How
helped
can you
put
be
this
8
deal
hours
together.
late? How can you be 8 hours late on a movie set?
I don't know. I don't believe it anyway because nobody was quoted. Somebody just made it up. Listen, if you want to put stuff on the internet like that, yeah, they're gonna pick it up because it's negative. The Rock was late, all this, all that, but it's not true. And no way to even track it. So,
Well-
but I've been hearing that too.
Well, apparently they told at least one untruth. I'll get to it in a second. So, in the previous few years, this is sort of my commentary on it anyway, and it seemed that way. And you tell me if you think I'm wrong. It seemed like the bloom was off the rose with The Rock somewhat. So, he released a string of lowly reviewed films: Jungle Cruise, which I hated that film. I actually watched it; that was terrible. Red Notice, which was on Netflix, and the much maligned Black Adam. So it just seemed like sort of like momentum was going away from Dwayne Johnson. For years, he couldn't do any wrong. And then there's the XFL investment that we don't know if that's going to be working or not, but we'll see in the future. So it seemed like The Rock seemed to be getting involved in wrestling.
Let me say it, XFL.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good venture. You know what they
Yeah,
pay those players?
No,
Nothing. They don't pay them anything hardly. Maybe $1,000 a game, $500 a game. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, he gets into wrestling, it sort of rejuvenates his career. You know, it's a big success, WrestleMania. 40 both nights, even though it's worth saying that the plan was when The Rock turned up that he was going to be with Roman Reigns in the main event. But supposedly some people in the company didn't like that, and that's why they positioned Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble and then fan sympathy and stuff like that. Anyway, now the rap seems to have poured more fuel on the fire with a hit piece that claims that The Rock was unprofessional, a nightmare to deal with, and caused I've written Red Notice, but I'm wrong in Red One, which is a different film coming out. It's a Christmas film coming out later this year, to go well over budget because he would turn up on set as much as 8 hours late. Here's some quotes from supposed insiders from the set of the upcoming Christmas film. So, on set away from his trailer, if he needs to pee, he doesn't go to the public bathroom. An insider who apparently knows the movie star well said he pees in a Voss water bottle and his team or a PA has to dispose of it. What's wrong with that?
No, he may not want to go outside the trailer.
Yeah, speeds it up. Speeds up the process. Look, I'm pissing in a bottle. There you go. I mean, when I was a gardener, when I was 16, we had a bucket in the back of the van that we shit in.
Hey,
Speeds the process up, you know. Anyway,
and you rode to the next spot. Was that still in the bucket?
absolutely. One of the people who was a gardener with, and this is true, he was driving, and he must have had a bad day the day before. So while he was still driving, just wound down the window, went whoa, and just puked up outside the window while he was driving, then wound up the window and then carried on. It's like I just worked with some disgusting people back in the day. Anyway. Also, Red One's budget has ballooned to more than $250 million, thanks in part, so this claims, to Johnson's tardiness. 3 anonymous Red One insiders confirmed that Johnson's late arrivals added at least $50 million, apparently, to Red One's budget.
Wait a minute, for 1 8-hour absence?
No, for supposed consistent lateness. Averaging, I'm not paying for the rap because it's behind a paywall, but I'm reading the IGN. Sort of like distilled version of it. It was an effing disaster, one insider said. Dwayne truly doesn't give a F, another added. 2 sources close to the production and one close to Johnson 7 Bucks Productions told the Wrap that Johnson averaged no more than 1 hour late to set. Another source close to Amazon MGM suggested that the increase in budget was a relatively normal occurrence. It is completely normal for there to be budget fluctuations within 15% of the target, which is exactly what we experienced, they said. And then one Red One insider added, the only thing Dwayne was consistent at was being chronically late. The Wrap notes that the star schedule issues didn't start with the Amazon Christmas movies. Johnson was 3 hours late to his main event match at WrestleMania 40 and 2 hours late to a WWE World Fan Meetup event just earlier this month. Now, already looked into it. That's crap.
Wait a minute. No, he wasn't late to WrestleMania 40.
No, he was. He was late to the fan thing. That's true, but he was not late to WrestleMania 40. So they've just made it up.
I don't see the big deal. I don't put any faith in any of that at all. So Rap, you're a damn liar, a flat out liar.
Wrap it up. Not you. I'm saying to the rap. Right. We've got a couple more bits that we need to talk about, and then we will close down this podcast. Now, this is a recurring theme as well in these podcasts. Jimmy Smith buries Ronda Rousey. So, do you remember Jimmy
Good.
Smith? He was a commentator for
He's a
WWE.
commentator, right?
Yeah. He lasted, what, a year or two? I can't even remember. He
Yeah.
didn't last too long. But he was also commentator for Bellator and UFC. And he's very familiar with Rousey's time in both companies. Was he in Bellator? Yeah. And WWE was familiar with as well, of course. Staying silent on the matter until recently, Smith has revealed that the former women's champion was not a well-liked figure backstage. So here's the quote.
Mhm.
I've never been a religious person, right? One of the things I've always said about God, he gets all the credit, none of the blame.
Yes.
That's what Ronda Rousey wants. All the credit, none of the blame. I want credit for all my wins. My losses, I had CTE and all this and all that. I'm the greatest to ever do it, but when it didn't work, it was so and so and so and so and so, and never me. She never gives credit to the people who actually beat her. The idea that, quote, I left MMA and went to the WWE because I had concussion problems makes no sense. And it sure doesn't make any sense because that's Concussion City Pro Wrestling, as you know, and anyone who's wrestled knows. There's more quotes, but let's pick that up at the moment then. So Ronda Rousey refuses to take any blame for anything bad that's ever happened.
Well, she was complaining last week about the not taking enough time with her to rehearse whatever she was going to do. Wait a minute. Didn't they take her to NXT? Why didn't they put her in an accelerated program? Because she don't get it. She doesn't get it. You're a comedian going on stage. You got to feel the heat in that room. You got to feel the temperature in that room. So when she walks out with a big crowd, she has to listen to those people. They'll tell you what to do. But no, she wants to walk out there and do what Ronda wants to do. Nobody can tell her nothing because she knows it all because she was in MMA. I doubt if she could beat some of those girls in right now in the damn WWE. I don't know. It would be a tussle for her. Let's say Bianca Belair. If they wanted to throw down, I don't know if Ronda could handle her. I don't know if she could handle that Jade girl. So she has never been overly friendly to me. I was in WWE with her, and I could tell they introduced her to me, but I could tell she didn't like, who am I? Why am I meeting this guy? Why am I meeting Yosemite Sam? And she wasn't very friendly. I mean, she said, pleased to meet you or what, but you could tell her attitude, she didn't much like it. So I immediately legged over and took her down and put her in figure four and made her submit right there on the floor.
Step over toe hold.
Yep. That's what I did. But see, these people get in this business and they start talking about like they've been in it forever. Why didn't you take more time with me? Because, some of those things, she was with the greatest women workers in the world. And if she didn't pick it up from them and them trying to help her, she's not going to get it, period. Am I wrong?
Do you know, her complaint last week, if memory serves, was that Logan Paul was getting preferential treatment because, he was getting time to practice all his matches.
Yes,
but there's a big
that's what she
difference
was.
in that.
But Logan Paul is about 3 times the athlete she is. You can tell by the way he moves.
Yeah.
He's a better athlete.
And here's the thing, right, is that she, at the beginning, did get the same preferential treatment as Ronda, as Logan Paul, for that tag match with Kurt Angle and Stephanie and Triple H at that WrestleMania. That went
Logan
20
Paul
minutes.
Logan Paul has something that Ronda Rousey cannot get. A personality. Because when he goes to the ring, he's going to make you pay attention to him. He's not he will talk to the people. He'll talk back to them. Like he's going back from the ring. Oh, he'll stop and he'll say something to individually. Ronda won't even do that. She won't even acknowledge that there's people out there. So till she learns to play the game, and I think she's too old right now. I mean, she can go and do, on an independent show or something and go do what she wants to do. But I think her days in WWE probably are well behind her. And I'm waiting for them to put her in the Hall of Fame because I don't think she deserves to be there. Do you?
No, I doubt. I don't think they put her in. I really don't think they'll put her in, especially with all the things she said
Well,
in the book and everything.
Okay, let's say this. I think she'll be pushing to get into the Hall of Fame.
Really? What makes you say that? She just
Because
thinks
it's Ronda,
I was great.
It's Ronda. Yes. She has a big, she thinks she's bigger than what she is. Really. I've seen people like you see them all over, not necessarily in wrestling, but you see them in other things too. They think they're more important than what they really are. But that's what I've always preached. I said, if you don't think you're the best there is, you don't have any business being there. I don't blame her for feeling that way. But she's going to have some people vote for her. Who votes for the Hall of Fame? I don't vote.
Oh, we don't know now. That's the interesting thing. We don't know anymore.
Wait a minute.
It used to just be Vince.
Oh, he had a few people who voted and
It would suggest names, and then he made the final list. But no, these days we don't know. So the Hall of Fame that just happened was Triple H's version.
Could be the same thing, but I think you need a panel. Who gets on, who doesn't get on. Because, they had those guest appearances during the draft. Like Bradshaw was there and Teddy Long and, Bubba and they were all reading out who they drafted and all. I think they need somewhat of a Hall of Fame board. And they could make that kind of a big deal because they were like, and you don't need many, I would say 5 to 7, no more. And they don't have to all be in one place to vote. They can vote, use the internet, call up. They put me down for this. This is who I'm voting for.
I've been looking at Ronda's match history. And, she probably did about 75 matches in her first run. She did house shows. They put her with Natalia a lot, who better to train with and to teach than Natalia.
In her first year?
In her first run that lasted a year, she did about 75 matches, house shows, TV shows, pay-per-views, the lot.
I want to put that up against the way things used to be. Well, we would do 75 matches in 2 months. Easy. I have had as many as 10 matches in 1 week. No more than that. I think I had like 16. And the reason being we had a tournament, had to work twice a night, do a TV. So it was 14 or 15 matches. So she's talking about going out there doing 75 matches, which is quite a bit, really.
But these days, I mean, if you compare it to AEW, because we said this recently, a bit ago, someone like Hook, who wrestles fairly frequently for AEW, has only really wrestled 20 times a year. So, at least Ronda comparatively is getting the reps in. She's with some of the best women out there who she can learn from. And then in a second run, she gets worse. And then also in the very first match, because she was complaining about Logan Paul, which I wanted to get to beforehand, is that she was getting the same preferential treatment as Logan Paul. She was given time to practice. She was given time to rehearse. And then at some point, they've hired her to be a professional wrestler, not what Logan Paul still is, and he's an attraction. They've hired her to be a full-time superstar. And somewhere she's forgotten that. And she believes that she still deserves the superstar treatment. I mean, she was getting paid millions a year, and she didn't want to improve her craft. And all she didn't seem to do, especially on the second run, was resent it. She resented the fans who didn't universally love her. And she seemed to resent anyone telling her what to do.
What was her merchandise sales?
Good question. I don't know. She was never on the top 10, I don't think. Correct me
And
if I'm wrong, everybody.
she was the shit then.
Yeah. Do you know what I would have told her is, how about you wipe that horrible face paint off your face? Because that's not adding to your character. It's just weird.
Well, I saw her go out one night and and this was from the back. They said, "Oh, go out there, kind of smile and kind of." That's not her gimmick. She's supposed to look like a sourpuss from the gate to the ring, and then go in there and perform that personality that she has given all the way down the aisle going to the ring. But she smiled, and all of a sudden she gets in the ring and she's ready to go. I'm saying, wait a minute. Why don't we let the A part of that uh, entranceway kind of be what the second part of that entrance is going to be when you in the ring? You're ready to go. But I mean, I see things like that, and you see just watching it the way I used to watch it. I'm thinking, there's nothing I can do. I might not like it, but hey, give me a feeling of your personality. And her personality was very serious. So why would she be friendly coming down the aisle? She was never friendly coming down the aisle in an MMA match, ever. She wanted to snatch somebody's head off their shoulders.
And speaking of friendly, here's the rest of the quote from Jimmy Smith. If you haven't noticed, I don't talk about things out of school. I don't talk about things out behind the scenes in WWE, behind the scenes in UFC. I don't do that, right? Kind of a personal rule. Let me let you in on something, Ronda, if you're listening. The people behind the scenes, camera people, audio people, the people you can push around, and the people you can bully, and the people you can talk down to, can't stand your effing ass. Everybody behind the scenes that had to put a mic on Ronda Rousey couldn't stand it. I asked why, and they said that she was a bitch. To us, from the moment that she sat down to the moment she got up. Like it's our fault she has to do this interview to hype this fight or whatever. She's miserable, and she's mean to us, and we can't stand her. They were cheering when she got knocked out. That's what I was told. So, I mean, she's just utterly hateful.
Just from what I've seen, and I've met her and I've been around her a little bit, not much. So, but I still have an opinion. I think she was just exactly as she's described. She's not very friendly and outgoing. That's just not her. But if you don't try to fake it by going down the start of your entrance by smiling and trying to talk to little kids. I mean, if you're going to be a kick-ass bitch, be a kick-ass bitch going down that aisle.
But people can see through it, though, can't they? Because especially when she's done all these social media posts, bitter at fans for not universally loving her, which is so, you never let them see your hand like that, for goodness sake. I don't understand what she was trying to accomplish. It just soured it.
Yeah, she doesn't understand actually what type of environment she's working in. I mean, you can take a lot of guys that the fans don't like but they, like Logan Paul, they like him, but yet they don't like him. Like the old Road Dogg and Triple H, they kind of liked him because they had some cute sayings, but they wanted to see him get their ass kicked. But she didn't understand that. I don't know what compelled her to think she could get in the business and all of a sudden take that MMA training, which is a shoot style, and try to make it palatable for a wrestling fan. Her last two fights, she got knocked on her ass and knocked out. Holly Holm she had a one style, and that's to take her opponent down and grind it out on her and choke them out. Well, when they started throwing those hands at her, boom, 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 and she was on Dream Street, and that exposed her to the fans. She's not that good. She's good on the mat, but standing up, and that's another form of MMA, is trying to punch somebody, and she wasn't very good at it.
Hey, well, who was terrible at MMA, but it didn't affect his pro wrestling career, was CM Punk. He was awful at MMA. And
but it don't matter. See, CM Punk, he went out there. The way I looked at it, he got a chance because him being CM Punk to go in there and have a match for whatever they paid him, 500,000 or whatever. And he puts 2 minutes in before he taps out. Well, he's made 500 grand. I thought that was brilliant, to tell you the truth. And then he only had 2 fights, probably made $1 million in. But that's not a bad replacement for wrestling.
More.
What'd he make?
He made over $1 million just for his first fight.
Okay. Yeah, but I thought the promoters knew that he would be good for all those tickets, and I guess he was good for them. He got paid.
We're going to end on this bit of news. I'm going to save some news for next week because it's a bit more universal. Anyway, Drew McIntyre finally re-signs with WWE. So The Rock himself presents Drew McIntyre with a Claymore. I don't know if you saw that video while Drew was in a restaurant as a present, sort of as a signing bonus, I guess. Did you see that video?
What do you mean a Claymore?
Like a sword. The Rock actually turned up to a restaurant Drew was in, gave him a sword. Anyway,
I think I heard about it.
Yeah, Drew later said, "We're making billion-dollar deals left and right. We've got the billion-dollar man, Nick Khan, closing all those deals for us left and right. And at the top, there's a lot of things going on and a lot of opportunities. If you can get to the top, and I've been to the top, and whatever people are trying to do to stop me from getting to the top, it's not going to happen. I know this industry too well." There's some veiled politicking complaints there.
Yeah, well, he's saying the truth, because there's a lot going on behind that curtain all the time. It's politicking 24/7.
What do you mean by politicking exactly in that sense? So
Okay,
what is politics? Just buddying up with the boss?
He says, "I know better." That's what he said, right? Drew?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he says, "Hey, you got to game the system." So he was going in there, and I'm not going to sign. And he got them thinking, well, AEW's that. He couldn't have done this without AEW now.
Now, yeah, you're very...
Because they would think to themselves, as I did, as you did, as everybody else did, hey, where's he going to go and make the money he's making now? And the answer is nowhere, without a billionaire running that other company. As soon as he went over there, he'd be dead. But still, the money, he would get the money. They wasn't going to lose him. And they worked it for all it was worth. And I'm glad he signed. And let's see what they can do with him.
Yeah, it's good for AEW to exist, almost just as a seed of doubt.
Yes, it is.
Drew continues, "If you try to politic your way ahead of me, I'll just beat you down and I'll get myself ahead of you because I know how this game works. That's why I'm staying with WWE for the foreseeable
What
future."
He's saying, I will go in that dressing room, and if you leave the room, I'm going in there. And I'm going to debunk and disavow everything you've said and sell myself over you. And he says, I'll win. And I don't know if he'll win or not, but he's won up to now. And that's the way that's the way life is played. It's not football. I mean, the football, if you got a receiver out there, he's got to catch some balls. He's got to prove it. But with Drew, he can go in there, and if he's got a few things to his credit that he can bring up, and they're going back to France, they're going back to Europe, they're going back, maybe go back to Wembley, and they go back to, where were they in Ireland? Glasgow?
Hey, no, that's Scotland.
I know, but where were they in Ireland? Dublin?
Yeah, I imagine Dublin.
Clash at the Castle. Where was that?
Cardiff, Wales.
Okay, Cardiff, Wales. But see, he's a product from over there. So every time they go and run a show there and he's on the card, it's going to sell out.
Yeah, he could be their British Bulldog.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Exactly.
He can be the European
and he knows that. But I think right now they got as much talent. They got more talent than they need.
Right at the moment, though, everyone's out. That's the thing. That's why they're in a lame duck period.
No, but you'll see. They'll come back. It is a lame, but you got to have lame duck periods to make your sellouts more memorable and more productive.
You said with the strength of the bench, it sort of exposes how strong your bench is when the top stars are out. Let's see how well we do without The Rock or Roman Reigns.
But the bench is a lot stronger now than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. When we first started doing this podcast, that's what you used to say all the time. Said they are desperate for stars. Yeah.
No kidding. And I think anybody, they may not have worded it that way, but yeah, they had nobody lined up. The biggest one they had was, I guess, the Drew, and he had, and Kevin Owens, but they were doing nothing with them. So I don't know. Hey, on one day on this podcast, we need to talk about, I was talking about where the WWE guys stay on the road, the big Hiltons and all these big hotels. I'm looking at your room there. That's basically where we used to stay in the shittiest towns in the world. But that was part of being in the business. So you'd have to, and everybody went through that. Hulk Hogan went through that. Because every territory he went to, it wasn't selling out, and he was too green to sell out. The house might be pretty good, but he wasn't making enough. He could pay $300 a night for a room. He might only be making $500 that week. I mean, things were a lot cheaper back then. I know that. Which brings, this is an interesting subject I want to talk about one day on the podcast.
I know what it is. Why don't we end it? End it with a story, because I know what you want to say.
Oh, well, say we had to go down to Memphis TV the next day. So they would book a town about 80 miles or 60, 100 miles from Memphis. So we could do that little town and then drive to Memphis. So we'd be there the next day early for TV. So, and then I went to Louisiana. You talk about miles. We put more miles on the road than truck drivers did. Some weeks were 3,000 miles, 2,500 anyway, every week. So we would go to these towns and we'd get in late, and I'd be drinking, and we'd stay in a hotel like that, like a Econo, like a Days Inn, Days 6, except we stayed in the Days 4. It was less. Oh my God. And we get in the room, and the room was horrible, but it was cheap. So we turn on TV that used to go off at 1:00 in the morning, everywhere, till the religious shows came along. And this is where I found out about Tammy Baker, and her husband. I even forgot what his name was. But I found all these televangelists, and I got to watching them. I'm half drunk, and they'd be preaching. And I mean, I had a bunch of them right off the top of my head, A.A. Allen and all these guys. And I got to thinking, organized religion has a strange resemblance to wrestling, because they have the believers. They go, you don't charge them a ticket to get in. You just pass a plate, and the preacher, he talks, and because you got a star you're talking about, you got Jesus Christ and got God. So you got music. Everybody's up and singing and carrying on. And then according to what kind of church you went to, they could save some people. And I bet I got saved more times watching those shows then I'd wake up in the morning and don't even remember it. But that's where I said they give the people, even the religious people, Tammy and her husband, Tammy
Jim.
Faye, and what's his name? Jim Baker. They were the hottest act in TV evangelistic services. Hottest. And they got a show that was 24 hours called wasn't the PTL Club, was it? It was some show. It went 24 hours. They got their own network. And then, like anything else, another preacher set him up with another female. Then the whole thing collapsed down on top of him. But it was interesting while it was going on. You'd listen to, and they were great, great, really interesting speakers. And you would listen to them and say, yeah, that's right. That's right. There's right. And they would try to save you all through the show. But I mean, it would go at least an hour and a half. And it's on late at night. And then I'm wondering, they don't have any commercials doing this show. You know why they didn't have commercials?
They didn't probably need them.
No. Well, people would send them money. Yeah. But they bought the time. I bet an hour's show at 1:00 in the morning couldn't have been much. What could have been $100, $200? And they would take in maybe $2,000 doing that. So, and that's one station out of about 150. So I got to paying attention to that, and they were always telling a story. And you know the story, but the preacher, like anything else, he's like one of the talents. He would put his own spin on it, and everyone you heard, it was a little bit different. So that's when I finally got that, this religion, it could be a little bit of a working going on here too. So, but that, and I would watch it every night, 3:00 in the morning, turn it on, dig, and nothing. All of a sudden you hit that channel, dip. There it is. TV evangelist. And he's the only thing on. You either watch him or you don't watch nothing.
And one probably made a lot more money than the other.
Oh yeah, they made a lot of money. A ton of money. Okay, you're sitting there, and I don't know how many people you have watching. Say you only got 1,500 people watching, but every one of them gives you $5. That's a pretty good little. They pay their TV time and they make money. And who gets that money? Did God get it? Or did the preacher get it? Somebody got it. I didn't get it, and that was a staple of my life for several years, going in a really crappy room, sitting down, eating crappy food, watching a black and white TV. Sometimes sometimes you'd have a color TV. Most of the times you didn't. But I wish I'd really paid more attention to what these guys were saying. And a lot of them are still active today. They really are. Till you find out they're flying Cessna jets. Wait a minute, aren't you a preacher that don't have any money? Well, yeah, but God wanted me there. So, okay, I got it.
Your closest has got at 40,000 feet, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
Ah, dearie me. We should do commentary over one of those things one of these days anyway. But for now, Dutch, we're going to wrap up the podcast. So I will say, yeah, we're back on Tuesday for the usual one. And we should also say, this is episode 99. Next week,
yes,
we've got a special guest for episode
special
100.
Guest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you will enjoy her. And it's a female. So who is it? Can we tell?
Yeah, of course we can.
Yes, it's Miss Gail Kim. And she talks about her TNA days, how she got into the business, and her matches with the Awesome Kong in TNA. We got some great stories about that. And she was very friendly, very outgoing, and we really appreciate her time.
Yeah,
so I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, she looks great, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I think she told us her age. How old was she?
She's like late 40s or something like that. You wouldn't have guessed.
I think she said 40. She don't look 49. She looks like in her mid 30s. She looks
47.
Great.
Yeah, she looks amazing. And what
does.
We also found out is that she lives around the corner from you. So if we thought about it harder, we would just give you your address.
Yeah. And she could bring something over here, some cookies or something.
Yeah. Her husband's a famous chef. Could have a nice
that is
flambe.
Right. Did you know who we talked about? Robert Irvine, her husband?
No, I knew that she was married to a well-known chef, but I don't know him.
Well,
I suspect he was famous in America. I don't think he was famous.
Yeah,
here.
But
he is English, isn't he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I had a look for him. Robert Irvine. He was from Wiltshire.
Is he English?
Or he was born over here. Has he got American accent?
Where's
English
he
celebrity
from?
chef, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Salisbury, Wiltshire, England.
Well, and she found him on a show they did together, the wrestling girls and the chefs, through a network, and met him, and they liked each other, and she's been married. How long did she say?
Oh, 13 years or something like that, 12, 13 years, something like that. But if you want to know any more
12 to
about
14 years.
that,
I didn't think it would be that long.
yeah, but if you want
Yes.
to know any more about that and about Gail Kim, we have her on for a good hour and a half, having a good old chin wag, a good chat. And that will be our special guest for episode 100 of Storytime with Dutch Mantell. But we'll be back on Tuesday for Ask Dutch Anything.
Okay.
Questions for Dutch at gmail.com if you want to submit your questions to the Dirty Dutchman. And all that is left for me to say is sayonara, Dutch son.
Sayonara.